So first of all, we get the story of David and Goliath in our reading from 1 Samuel, which is pretty interesting, but I want to focus on the gospel today because David is referred to by Jesus here, and you're not going to know what Jesus is talking about, though we will get to it as we continue to read 1 Samuel. One time on a Sabbath day, by the way, this is something called the U version. It's a kind of a half paraphrased translation, but it's pretty interesting. One time on a Sabbath day, Jesus was walking through some grain fields. His followers picked the grain, rubbed it in their hands, and ate it. Some Pharisees said, "Why are you doing that? It is against the law of Moses to do that on the Sabbath day." The law of Moses, meaning the 10 Commandments here. This is a violation of the 10 Commandments. Jesus answered, "You have read about what David did when he and the people with him were hungry. David went into God's house. He took the bread that was offered to God, the showbread. We'll talk about that more later when we get to that section of 1 Samuel, and ate it. And he gave some of the bread to the people with him. This was against the law of Moses, which says that only the priests can eat that bread." Then Jesus said to the Pharisees, "The Son of Man is Lord over the Sabbath day." Now, elsewhere, Jesus says, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. In other words, the laws of God, and beyond that, even the blessings of God, because the Sabbath and obeying the Sabbath is a blessing, even though it's one of the 10 Commandments, and it implies an eternal blessing. But the idea is this is for the sake of human beings. We do not exist in order to serve the law. The law exists in order to serve us. And here he says the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. He doesn't say God himself is Lord of the Sabbath and I am God. He says the Son of Man, which is the mysterious title that he uses that refers to himself, but it also refers to himself as the preeminent of all humankind. The Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. In other words, in a way, he's saying we are at the top of creation, and we do not exist to serve the minutiae of the law. The law exists to serve us, but then it gets even more interesting, because this might be intellectually interesting to you or maybe not. What I want to point out, especially with this translation, is how Jesus operates. On another Sabbath day, Jesus went into the synagogue and taught the people. A man with a crippled right hand was there. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees were watching Jesus closely. They were waiting to see if he would heal on the Sabbath day. How dare he heal someone on the Sabbath day? How dare he break the rules? Because the Pharisees are convinced that we become holy by following the rules. How dare he break the rules to do good? They wanted to see him do something wrong so that they could accuse him. But Jesus knew what they were thinking. We don't really pull anything over on God. He said to the man with the crippled hand, "Get up and stand here where everyone can see." The man got up and stood there. He doesn't back down. He doesn't say, "Well, the Pharisees are wrong, but I'm going to heal you, and I'm going to do it secretly because I'm concerned about your healing," which of course he is. He says, "In your face, Pharisees. Hey, you with the crippled hand, stand up. Come up here where everyone can see you." This is one of the reasons they get so mad at him. He's pushing it in their face. He's pushing their noses in it. The man got up and stood there. Then Jesus said to them, "I ask you, which is the right thing to do on the Sabbath day, to do good or to do evil?" There's an obvious answer to that question, but they don't want to answer it. Is it right to save life or to destroy one? Is it right to save a life or to destroy one? Jesus looked around at all of them, and they're not answering him, notice, and said to the man, hold out your hand. The man held out his hand and it was healed. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law got so mad they couldn't think straight. They talked to each other about what they could do to Jesus. Okay, so if you think that this stuff is just 2,000 years old and not that important, the reaction of the Pharisees is exactly the reaction of the super Catholics that I argue with on the internet. In other words, they get angry when the truth is revealed. And they get angry when someone stands up for something that is good rather than for their system, their strange little peculiar Pharisaic system that they have a vested interest in. Now, I'm not saying all devout Catholics do this. I'm saying the people that I see on the internet who make a show of being Catholic are like these Pharisees. And they get mad in this story. They get mad that he dares to do good on the Sabbath. They're angry that he restores this man's hand to a functioning state. They're so mad they can't think straight. And if you don't think that applies to the internet, try arguing with people on the internet. People get so mad they can't think straight. There's not much thinking that goes on the internet anyway. And they decide they got to do something about him. Now, this insight into human nature that we see in all four Gospels, and we see it building here in Luke as a theme that eventually will climax in the crucifixion. This is how people are. But I don't know of anything before the Gospels, and really not much afterwards in literature, that does it well, that displays this tendency of human nature that we see in the Gospels. This is so real and so realistic. The other thing that happens if you read the Gospels closely is you recognize Jesus is not this sort of vague, nice guy that is preached to us from the pulpits. Here he does this in order to test them in a way. He does this to see what the reaction of the Pharisees will be. He does it publicly, and he does it in order to stir them up. God sometimes does that to us. He tests us, and he puts us in difficult situations to see what our reaction will be. Oh, okay, Mr. O'Brien, you make all this noise about being better than the so-called super Catholics. Try this, wham, and he shoves it in my face. How am I going to react to that? How are you going to react to that? Are we going to do what the Pharisees do? Are we going to hold back to the things that we like and that make us comfortable when we recognize that what God is really trying to do in our lives is heal? He's trying to bring health, sanity, sanctity, love, and we resist him every step of the way, and we don't think we do because we think we're righteous the way the Pharisees thought they were righteous. I'm trying not to get too excited because I'm in a hotel room and I don't want other people to hear me. At any rate, that's enough for today. But recognize that that's actually going on in that passage. Maybe my interpretation of it is a little skewed, but this kind of modern translation really helps you sort of see Jesus is pushing it in their face, and they're responding in the worst possible way they can. Use this as an object lesson. Don't be like the Pharisees.